Okay. Finally, I get to share the details of the raid with you guys. Oh, you have no idea how I've just been sitting here like wanting to just burst with this information. Okay, so this is the second video I'm making. The first video I just made was about the kit for Darth Sia, who is the reward for the raid. So if you haven't watched that yet, make sure to check it out. Her kit is complicated and very interesting, and we'll have to see how it plays into this whole new Sith meta. But, okay, I got my notes during the presentation. So we sat down at CG and the whole room was red, and they had this like grand presentation. They went into like their motivation behind creating a raid and all the things they were thinking of, and they wanted to make a raid because they wanted this like challenging puzzle that we could all kind of tackle together. And they loved KOTOR 2, and that was the motivation for all of this. And the Sith are like the classic villains of Star Wars and all of this stuff. Okay, so the basic details about the raid. So there's no escape button, and I really like this idea because the idea of there is no escape for a Sith raid is pretty cool. That once you go in, you're in. You can still retreat. I mean, you can't make it too hard because this raid looks pretty crazy. So once you go in, you can retreat and restart. But once a tune is used, it is used. There is no retreating Luke, retreating Kylo, retreating any of that. Once you're in, you're in. And I really like that idea because I feel like that's kind of like the original intention of the raids, and they kind of see it as taking the training wheels off. So that's happening. There will be 4 phases, and I'll kind of step through the four phases. And then there will be the same number of tiers as the Rancor. So there will be 6 normal tiers and then a heroic tier. Okay. And then of course there's no dates. I keep saying I don't have dates for anything, and I think they really hesitate on giving dates because they're so subject to change. Dates are really easy and really common to change, so no dates yet. Okay, so phase 1. So basically what's happening is by removing the escape button, they've opened up this like real estate because the game has to work on lots of devices, so the escape button actually took up a lot of space. So now that that is gone, they've added in these like new abilities, and there's a new ability for each phase. So in the first phase, you are fighting Darth Nihilus, and the purpose for that is we are all very familiar with Nihilus. I mean, he's gonna be like Nihilus on steroids because he's a raid boss, but we still know he's still Nihilus. We still know his kit, so we're kind of starting off kind of familiar ground. You know, he increases cooldowns. He is a ticking time bomb that's gonna get Annihilate off. Like you know all of those things. So the first phase, the ability that you get is called Unbreakable Will, and all of you're gonna have like the main boss, and then they'll have little like ads on the side. So the first ability is called Unbreakable Will, and you can only use it once, and I think you start out with 1. Okay, disclaimer, this whole thing is subject to change. A lot of this I'm going off of memory when I was watching it, like, what? So a lot of this, like everything is subject to change, but I'm trying my very hardest to remember it accurately. So you get Unbreakable Will for 1 turn. I think you start with 1, and then you can earn it on other characters by defeating the side tunes, I believe. And what this does is basically all the damage has to go to you, and you can't be killed. Now, the footage, I'm not sure if this is the case, but this is how it was explained to us, is that, you know, it kind of is like a forced taunt and you can't die. So the idea behind this is you want to kind of time it with Annihilate, which is going to be tricky because, as we know with raid bosses, they kind of take multiple turns at once. So this whole raid is like really puzzle-y. Okay, phase 2, you are facing Darth Sia, and what's happening with Darth Sia is your ability is Soothe, and it removes all of your stacks of pain and your cycle of suffering. And I have this note here in my handy dandy notes that I wish I had taken more of. I was so like mesmerized. I have Cycle of Pain times 5, Arrow, Cycle of Suffering. So, and what I remember about this phase is, so the idea with this phase is kind of balancing risk and reward. So you are going to be receiving a lot of pain from Sion, as we've seen from his kit. I mean, it's going to be Sion, but Sion on steroids, but we've seen Sion's kit heavily based on pain. And it's like, as you're gaining this pain, you can do more damage to him, but if you let it get too far, then he can crush you. And so you have to really time the soothe. And the idea is that you have to let that pain stack. You can't really do anything versus Sion until you let that pain stack. So you do want it to stack, and then you have to really time when you hit soothe. Okay, so phase 3 is when you hit Darth Sia. Darth Sia. I'm really tired. So the whole idea of this, like we kind of saw in her kit, is that you don't want to rely on others. So the ability for the phase is to stand alone. And this, we saw it kind of in her kit. You literally are just by yourself. But this really cool, this is where the strategy and like my mind was racing, my mind was blown. This is where it gets really complicated. And this is why everyone's like, who do I farm? And I'm like, I have no idea, because you have like infinite possibilities of teams. Like the possibilities for this are crazy. So what happens when you stand alone is you absorb buffs from your team based on who they are, and you become like this Super Saiyan thing standing there all by yourself. So you get 100% tenacity from each tank, you get 100% offense from each attacker, you get 100% health from supports and healers. So if you surround yourself with attackers, then you absorb all of their offense and become this insane glass cannon. Or if you if you surround yourself by a bunch of healers, then you become this unkillable tank. It's just the how you compose teams around this is crazy. And you're not gonna just put this on one tune, because you're gonna be able to put it on multiple tunes. And I think you can only use it once per tune, so you really have to structure like the whole team. It's just, this is crazy. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be so fun, but so crazy. And then Traya, all of her lightsabers are going, she has those 3 lightsabers, and all of them are going to have their own abilities, which is crazy. And if you take them all out, then it's kind of like a topple effect, I think, but it's going to be very hard to take them out. So I don't know if we're actually going to want to topple or not, or if you want to time it really well. It's just another layer of complication. And then phase 4, all we get is a bunch of question marks, and all we got on our slideshow was good luck. So they're trying to keep phase 4 kind of a bit of a mystery. What we do know is that you will get to face all 3 of them together. Yeah. So my video for Traya, I was talking about how they're uniques, and their kits, like, they're all kind of these ticking time bombs. Like, Nihilus has Annihilate coming, Sion has Hatred coming, Traya stacks offense. It's kind of like facing all 3 of them together is going to be very interesting. And what we were told is you'll have to use what you've learned for the previous 3 phases to beat this phase. This is gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna get our butts handed to us. It's gonna be interesting. All right, the last piece of information that I have about the raid is there are going to be some buffs for certain classes. The ones that I have written down, these aren't set in stone. These are just some notes that I took. So again, subject to change. There will be bonuses to healers. The thought was that healers have gone, ever since protection was healers used to be like the most valuable thing in the game. at the very beginning of the game. Throwback, back in my day. The second protection was introduced into the game. Healers kind of died out a little bit. So like a healer as a character hasn't been that worthwhile. So they're going to get a buff of having I have hella tenacity plus health. That's my note that I have. It seems like Sith and maybe Night Sisters are going to have this like dark side rivalry buff that'll be an offensive buff, which I think is a really cool idea. Bounty hunters, and this was said because they need the help. So I don't know if, like, when you hear this, it's really tempting to hear, oh, bounty hunters are going to go to rework. And we've been hoping and expecting a bounty hunter rework. And I don't know if that's the case or not, but it was said because they need the help. So I don't know if this is like supplementing a rework or what, just take it as it is. But it'll be like an offensive buff that stacks as they kill enemies. That's what we were told. And then the last group to get buffs are the Galactic Heroes. And this will be tunes like Commander Luke, Jedi Knight Anakin, Grandmaster Yoda, Jedi Training Rey, all those, and that's just because they are Galactic Heroes, and I don't know, I have no idea what kind of buffs they will get. That was just something that was mentioned. I'd be stoked for Yoda and Anakin to get a buff, because they need it, like, bad. And yeah, that's my notes. I've been saving this piece of paper. It's my little precious. I was so paranoid. I write really small, so I tried to pack it all on here, but I didn't write as much as I wanted. And I was paranoid I was going to lose it, so I folded it up into a little rectangle, and I kept it in my wallet until now, because I was terrified I was going to lose it and then be accused of leaking because I lost a piece of paper. So it's been safe in my wallet. This raid sounds insane. I'm really excited to tackle it. It sounds like a huge puzzle. It's definitely too early to be like, this team is what's gonna work. These tunes are who you need to farm. So stay calm for a little bit. My advice is still hoard. And if you are not at the top of your arena, now is the time to get to the top of your arena, because you're gonna need those crystals. So get to the top of your arena. And just hoard, and then we'll all play around and fluster and flounder and die miserably in this raid and learn and figure out how to beat it, and it'll be a lot of fun. Let me know what you all think, and have fun.